What is the Batten MPP? An important thing to understand at the outset is that the Batten MPP is different, and it's different by design. Now, notice I didn't say that it was better. Grad school is an intensely personal choice, so it's up to you to decide which program is best. But we are different. So let me tell you a little bit about why and how we're different. In order to understand the how and the why, I have to provide you with a quick historical sweep of public policy education. So modern public policy education goes back really to the early part of the 20th century. Even a little bit before that, in the 1890s and early 1900s, business schools like Wharton, Tuck, and Harvard were using advanced training to provide managers and future business leaders with training in industrial inefficiency. So a scholar named Frederick Winslow Taylor was one of the first what's known as management consultants. But around this time, there's also this growing sense of angst and frustration that state and local government is also quite inefficient too. So in response, schools began to recruit small groups of students who wanted to be future city bureaucrats, and they began training them in organizational and administrative efficiency. So this led to the evolution of the first two-year MPA, Master of Public Administration. Around that same time, scholars and government managers identified a need for systematic and rigorous analysis on public policy, separate from administration. So initially, that work is being conducted in places like the Brookings Institution, who believed that government needed to base its policy decisions on sound scientific analysis. This went on for many decades as universities continued to train administrators, while research was being conducted at non-university think tanks and research centers. So fast forward to the early 1960s, a lot of scholars are getting involved in sponsored research at places like Brookings, places like the Rand Corporation and others. This is also around the time when modern tools of econometric and game theoretic analysis start to offer really great new possibilities. Finally, the academy realized they needed to catch up. They needed to revise their curricula. And thus, the first MPP degrees, the Master of Public Policy, using both administration and analysis, are born. This revised model, which is what most policy schools use today, has two mutually reinforcing missions. First, training capable administrators, and second, conducting nonpartisan policy research. Now, the presumption of this model was that better tools of policy analysis would necessarily produce better societal outcomes. Unfortunately, that ignored the complexity of the policy world. It ignored the human factor. You see, good solutions were being identified, but graduates of MPP programs didn't have the requisite skills to implement or execute those policies. This led to a lot of frustration with both policymakers and institutions of higher education. But it wasn't a problem of teaching better administration or training better policy analysis. This was a leadership problem. So in 2007, the University of Virginia created the Batten School as a new model of public policy education, one that infuses leadership with policy and policy with leadership, one that seeks to educate, to train, to cultivate the next generation of policy leaders. Our programs are defined by a multidisciplinary approach to problem solving, rigorous quantitative and qualitative analytical training, experiential learning opportunities, and evidence-based decision-making. Of the more than 250 schools of public policy and public administration in the US, Batten is the only one explicitly committed to teaching policy and leadership. So you see, we have a different perspective on policy education, and that changes who we bring into our community. Grades are important. I'm not going to say that we don't look at your transcript, but it's so much more than that. We're looking for individuals who want to be architects of change. Because for us, this isn't a two-year degree. This is a lifelong community of impact. And that's really what we're trying to find. So if you decide someday to come here, you'll discover that Thomas Jefferson looms large in the university. I think I'm contractually obligated to include a Jefferson quote in every talk I give. So let me offer this one. We in America do not have government by the majority. We have government by the majority who participate. And I love this quote because I really do think that it cuts to the heart of what our school is all about, developing the next generation of leaders committed to solving the world's toughest policy challenges.